This Week in South Baltimore.
Brought to you by
SouthBaltimore.com. So, Kev, it has been 2 months since we've put together a podcast here. So I know we've all had a little bit of a hiatus here. Things have been crazy, and I know there's so much going on around the neighborhood we got to catch up on. I mean, there's like a ton to catch up on here, Kev. But how you been doing, man? How are things with you?
Yeah, hanging in there, doing well. Glad to see a lot of our businesses are hanging in there too. So yeah, just I'm doing fine. Hopefully, sounds like vaccines are getting ready to go. So hopefully the end is near so we can get back to normal, get our small business community back to normal, get our events industry back. So hopefully the end is near. It's good to see a lot of businesses are hanging on. I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well as well. Hope all of our audience is hanging in there, and we have a whole lot of business news to catch everybody up on.
Awesome. You just said you were talking about the vaccinations, and hopefully they will be coming soon next year. I'm looking forward to that. But Gav, you just made me think of a new DJ name for myself. When we have a vaccination party, DJ Vaccinate. What do you think? Yeah. I cure you. Yeah. And then
I love it. I love it.
Cool.
And, who would have thought that we'd be in an era where nobody can wait to get a needle punctured into their arm? But
seriously,
we are there.
Yes,
we are
there.
Officially there.
Bring it on. Give me 2. I don't care.
We went from a population avoiding the flu shot to people counting down the days.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll do that. But hey, let's get caught up around the neighborhood. Let's not waste people's time. Let's get into it with some business news.
All right, DJ Vaccinate, let's get started. Yeah, so much business news. So Charles Street continues to see a renaissance during this pandemic as so many storefronts are getting filled. So one of the newest stores is Elseworlds Emporium, which opens at 921 South Charles Street. This property was a former tag and title type business. This is owned by Jason Petrini. He's a U.S. Army veteran, and he kind of described this as for geek chic enthusiasts. They have different types of G.I. Joe and different types of characters, hobbyist type items. So it's by appointment only right now. They also have a shop on eBay. So a lot of cool items there at Elseworlds. Cielo Verde has opened at the American Visionary Art Museum. This is the third floor cafe they have in there. So right now it's just opening as a COVID-friendly event space where you can have like some small parties and maybe a small wedding, bar mitzvahs, things like that. So they are now open. They intend to be a cafe once the flow of traffic is back to usual at AVAM. But for right now, they have opened the space as an event space, and it's owned by Irina Stein. She has Alma Cocina, which is a Venezuelan restaurant, which is actually relocating right now from Canton to Station North. But that's been a very well celebrated restaurant. I know people are really looking forward to Cielo Verde. It's going to have some Middle Eastern and Spanish and Latin influences. So should be a great place. Now you can go there for an event, but hopefully soon you'll be able to go in there as a cafe. Some local guys, Bill Fanshaw, who's from South Baltimore, and then his partners, Nicholas DeSanti and Andrew Jones, they've launched Lightos Vodka, which is a electrolyte enhanced vodka. They've kind of modeled this after some of those drinks you might have after a night of drinking, like Pedialyte or Gatorade, which kind of gives you that boost for whatever you might be feeling. So they've launched this new vodka. They're working out of their homes. They plan on getting a Baltimore distillery at some point, but right now they're distilling the vodka out of Florida. So exciting new vodka with some South Baltimore roots, and you'll find it at a couple bars in the area and several liquor stores on the shelves. Afters Cafe, which is a local cafe in Federal Hill, which is known for their coffees and espressos, as well as frozen yogurt, pastries, Korean-themed steam buns. They've done a full renovation of that first floor space. It's got new floors, new walls, new counter. The owner, Andy Hahn, he's real excited about this new space. They've been there 9 years now, so they're excited to have a fresh look. So definitely make sure to get in there and check it out. Interesting concept here. So a food truck that will be permanently parked at 1302 Key Highway is opening today, called On Brazilian Time, one of the very few Brazilian-themed restaurants in the Baltimore area. This is owned by David Braun and Alexandre Silva, who are both from Brazil, and they're bringing the classic plates from their home country to Federal Hill. They're going to be open during the day and evening, and have discounts for first responders and healthcare workers and au pairs. So definitely check them out. He was explaining the menu to me, and it made me realize how unfamiliar I am with Brazilian cuisine, but it all sounded really good. Lots of meat and bean dishes and all kinds of interesting stuff. So today will be your first chance to check them out, and a cool little concept. They have the picnic tables out there, and once things return more back to normal, they're going to have like Brazilian bands, play Brazilian soccer games on some TVs out there. So very cool. Another cuisine coming to an area that's so rich with cuisine from around the world. Quite the story here, as Chauffeur's Furniture at 930 South Charles Street. They will be closing next year. They're going to do your typical furniture sale where they're going to liquidate everything, but they've been in Federal Hill for 106 years. This is owned by Hank Chauffeur, and essentially he's ready to retire from this business. None of his kids wanted to take on this multi-generational furniture business, but it also creates a very interesting opportunity, as their showroom at 930 South Charles Street is 70,000 square feet. They also have a warehouse at 836 Leadenhall Street, which is 80,000 square feet. That warehouse is also currently the home of Protean Books, and it has the warehouse for chauffeurs. So Hank is he's working with the real estate community, and he's looking to develop these properties. He's not sure whether he's going to sell them, whether he's going to partner, whether he's just going to lease them. So he's open to different opportunities. When you think of that huge space that takes up almost an entire block on the 900 block of Charles Street, right in the heart of Federal Hill Main Street, some of the ideas that have been talked about that Hank has heard is maybe a grocery store. Maybe this gets redeveloped into a hotel. Of course, apartments are always a popular use for lots and buildings in Federal Hill. So it really should be interesting to see what happens there. Certainly, if you were to get a hotel or a grocery store in the heart of Federal Hill, that would really change the feel of that block, really bring a lot of people into the neighborhood. So that'll certainly be interesting to watch. Then you have that large warehouse on Leadenhall Street, which is in Otterbein, right next to Sharp Leadenhall, not too far from the showroom. So we'll see what transpires there. That's a pretty large building on a large lot. So we'll see what the future is there. But two big properties which will likely get redeveloped. The wealth of ice cream in Federal Hill continues to grow as Be More Licks is now open. They've opened the second location for owners Barbara Maloney and Kimberly Proctor at 901 Light Street there in Federal Hill. They bought this building. They added their mural, which is a great ice cream mural, just like they have one at their other location in Canton. They are serving 100 different flavors of ice cream. They are a COVID-friendly place, like everything these days. They've got a few ordering windows on the side of the building. Great place to get some ice cream, get your shot for Instagram on the up against the mural. So I've been to the location in Canton. Very good. So another great option for Federal Hill when it comes to ice cream, as 3 other shops have opened in the past few months. So great place for ice cream enthusiasts. Cool story here, coming to Power Plant. Underground Pizza, which, in case people aren't familiar, this is Detroit style pizza, which is very cool. It's kind of like a thick Sicilian style pizza, which has burnt cheese edges. Maybe you've had the deep dish from Little Caesars, but this is a much better version of that. This is by owners Evan Weinstein, who was in the music industry and events business. He kind of pivoted here a little bit as his industry has been shut down pretty good by COVID. Patrick Morrow, who's a local chef that's been involved in creating so many of the restaurants in Federal Hill and around. So they're teaming up. They're going to the former Joe Squared space at Power Plant, and they're going to be bringing those Detroit style pizzas. And then also Joe Squared has an old coal-fired oven in there, which is typically used for, New York style pizzas or Neapolitan style pizzas. So they're going to play around with that oven and likely have a second type of option of pizza on their menu. Nate, I know you've had underground pizza, so I'm sure a lot of people will be excited to have some Detroit style come to the area.
Nice new different type of pizza to have. Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. And obviously, if anybody follows me, I'm a pizza enthusiast, so I'm very excited to try this place for the first time. Moving back to Federal Hill at 924 Light Street, De Luxurious Paws has opened. This is the former Baltimore space. So this remains a pet shop, a dog grooming and cat grooming and bunny grooming, actually, business. So you can go in there and they got cool collars and leashes and shampoos and all kinds of things for your pets. You can go in there and get your animals groomed. They also have a boarding service for people that want to, keep their dogs or cats there. They're starting an obedience school. They're doing doggy daycare. So a really cool business by DeAndre Lewis. He's actually an ex-employee of Baltimore. He's also worked at PetSmart. So he's been in the business for many years, and he's excited to open his own shop. So here's a cool story where we talk about all these small businesses, and obviously South Baltimore loves to talk about small businesses. And another group of guys that love small businesses is John Bregel. He's a Federal Hill resident, and then his partner Rocco Campanelli, who currently lives in New York. So they've started a new website, new social media account that's really cool. It's called Baltimore Small Business Stories. And what they're doing is they're doing photo essays of small business owners. And it's really cool. You get to learn about a lot of these business owners. Some of them are immigrants with just pretty wild stories about how they got here, business owners from different backgrounds. You learn about the risks that some of these business owners have taken. Just so cool just to see portraits of these business owners, learn about their struggles, learn about their successes. Really, really cool thing. If anybody knows of sites like Humans of New York, that was definitely an inspiration for John Bregel. So definitely check out that site. It's very cool. And John is a guy who his family had a business in Federal Hill his whole life. He grew up in Towson, and he spent a lot of time in New York in the video production industry and got burned out and wanted to come back to Baltimore and have a little bit slower pace of life. He already produced a pretty cool local documentary about the man in Federal Hill who was tattooed completely blue. So that was a pretty cool documentary he did. And now he's back at it, trying to profile more stories of small business owners. And there's quite a few Federal Hill and South Baltimore business owners that have been featured already. So definitely check out that site. It's very cool. Moving over to Southside Marketplace in Locust Point / Riverside, Pet Value is closing. So we talked about De Luxurious Paws opening. Unfortunately, Pet Value is closing. And this company is shutting down all of its United States operations. So unfortunately, Pet Value, which I know is well supported here in the neighborhood, they are closing due to corporate issues up top. So they currently have a closeout sale going on. And as I once heard a owner of a chain of businesses say, one bad location can take down 3 good locations. So unfortunately, obviously Pet Value, the business was having issues, and unfortunately we're losing the Locust Point location. But you can still get in there for a few more days and get some good deals on pet supplies. Very interesting use of a property here as at 938 Washington Boulevard in Pigtown. This is a lot currently. A business is coming here called Pigtown Climb. So this is going to be a climbing facility. This is a partnership between the property owners and a group of climbing and neighborhood enthusiasts led by Brianna Horn. So they're going to add a climbing facility. It's going to be a community space. They're going to have cool programs for local kids, for people that want to exercise. So really, this is really in the heart of Pigtown Main Street. It's right near Suspended Brewery, the new Groundwork Kitchen that's opening across the street. You have Milk and Honey Market. So really in the heart of a business district, a growing business district. You're going to have this cool community space and climbing facility. So that's looking like that could be a year and a half out as they fundraise. This will be a nonprofit, but a very cool use for that, and a good chance to, go get a beer at Suspended, then burn it off with a nice climb. So very cool to see that. Moving to Cross Street Market, Crepe Crazy has opened. This is a deaf-owned business. It offers sweet and savory crepes. They started in the Austin, Texas area, and now they've come to Federal Hill with the help of some franchise owners. So a cool business. You can get to support deaf workers, a deaf-owned business, and get some really good crepes. So that's an exciting new concept for Cross Street Market. They have a really cool, very light, very warm space they've built out there. So definitely check out Crepe Crazy. Across the street at 1101 Light Street, Taqueria El Rodeo has opened. This space was formerly a couple different Peruvian chicken concepts, and now I'm going to assume it's a very authentic Mexican restaurant. I haven't spent a ton of time in Mexico, but I know I have trouble reading the menu, so I think that tells you it's probably pretty good. But Taqueria El Rodeo has a location in Hyattsville. They're now in Federal Hill. I stopped by. Really good tacos and burritos. Very good stuff, and great addition to Federal Hill. Another closure, Charm City Run has closed at McHenry Row. Really while our main streets have done very well during the pandemic, which is amazing, McHenry Row has certainly struggled. This is the sixth business to close at McHenry Row. Unfortunately, Charm City Run will no longer be there, but they still do have a location in Fells Point. So Charm City Run no longer there, but I know the team at 28 Walker, which runs McHenry Row, they got a lot of things in the works. They're confident they'll get these spaces filled. You get a lot of more corporate type businesses that have closed there, and we've already kind of talked about some of the issues those are having during this pandemic. But certainly 28 Walker, they're one of the better retail developers in the city, and I know they'll get McHenry Row turned around. And then one last bit of business news: Sandtown Furniture Company, which has been based on Belt Street and Riverside for many years. They've been growing. They make these really cool tables and desks and all kinds of furniture made of reclaimed wood, old trees, really cool products. So they bought a 32,000 square foot historic building on the 1200 block of Wycomico in Carroll Camden. So they're planning to have this big new workshop. It's going to have a really cool showroom. So great for Sandtown Furniture Company. That's owned by a couple local guys, and they are expanding. So a business that's growing. And if anybody's tried to buy furniture right now, they know it's kind of a tough world out there right now, just because everybody's trying to upgrade their homes and kind of make their home life better right now. So certainly a booming time for the furniture industry. Sandtown said they're having a very good year. A lot of people want new desks and new tables for homes. So they're growing, and they'll have some great new digs probably in about 6 months.
Awesome, Kev. Wow. So, as always around the neighborhood, there's always so much action between, businesses opening, and now thankfully not too many are closing. You did a great job explaining all that and informing all of our listeners to all those new things. And one thing that really sticks out to me is the chauffeurs. And I've been so curious as well, is like, what's going to happen with that property? And you said, when you mentioned a hotel, that never even crossed my mind, but man, I mean, if it was some sort of boutique hotel, how awesome that would be to draw, like you said, draw more people in. And you could picture, Ravens games, right? I mean, that hotel would bring so much money to the neighborhood. It would sell out in an instant. And, it'd just be like really cool to offer something new, because we don't really have that. We don't really have any other than the new Courtyard by Harris Teeter. We don't really have a lot of hotels down this way in the peninsula. So that would be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. While I love our neighbors and I love our neighborhood, I want to share our neighborhood with the world. So any way we can bring in more visitors to shop at our small businesses. I think a hotel, it could be a boutique hotel, but they actually have that big parking lot behind where you could build a big hotel there, with maybe like a 5 or 6 story building behind the existing building. So certainly you could build a big hotel. That would be certainly a huge change for, that's the heart of the business district. Or imagine if you got like a grocery store or a Target in there or something. That would certainly be a big draw for the area. So something pretty exciting could happen there. So that'll be fun to keep an eye on.
Well, what a great way to segue into some real estate news. What do we got going on around the neighborhood for real estate?
That is a good segue. So this is very exciting, I think, is so Royal Farms Arena, which is a very old arena downtown, very dated. Certainly it's had a success in booking events, but it really holds Baltimore back from seeing some bigger type events like NCAA tournament basketball, major conference tournaments in college basketball, holds them back from really hosting any regular season games, maybe for the Capitals or Wizards, or really getting our own professional sports teams in the NHL or NBA. So the Baltimore Development Corporation, which is kind of a quasi-governmental arm of Baltimore City, has put out an RFP looking to see who might want to either renovate Royal Farms Arena or tear down the Royal Farms Arena at the existing site and build a new arena. So they've really been hesitant to do this in the past, because there was always the fear of, if you shut down our arena for some kind of period of time, whether that's 6 months to a year for renovation, whether that's 2 to 3 years for a complete rebuild, you're kind of out of the circuit for a lot of these big events. So, like Disney on Ice, I know the circus isn't, I guess, around like it used to be. So all these events, they were
Monster Jam.
Yeah. How can you forget about Monster Jam? So there was really a lot of fear. If we take our arena offline, it might be tough to get back in the circuit to get these events back. But now we're living in this COVID world. There's no arena events going on right now. I guess some places maybe have them, but so essentially this is probably a good time to hit the reset. We've kind of lost a lot of those events right now anyway. Let's see what we can do with this arena. Can we get some kind of new venue that can get us back into the NCAA tournament for basketball? get some bigger events, get some better conference tournaments, better sporting events. So very exciting to see what happens there. If you look at Baltimore, we have a first-class baseball stadium, we have a first-class football stadium, but really that indoor venue has really been lacking, and really the opportunities for events that would come with a better arena are immense. So we'll see what happens there. It's an RFP. Hopefully there's some good bidders out there, and be exciting to see what happens there. Baltimore City is not offering any money for this situation other than the existing tax incentives that already exist, like it's in an opportunity zone. So we'll see what happens there, but that'll be very exciting to follow. So interesting story here, as T. Rowe Price, which is currently located at 100 East Pratt Street. I would say that's probably the busiest intersection in the city, right at Pratt and Light Street. They will be relocating in the year 2024 to Harbor Point. Harbor Point's a big new development in Fells Point on a peninsula there that was once a factory. So that's this development that's been going on. They've built 4 new buildings there already. So T. Rowe Price has signed a lease. They're going to have 2 of their own buildings at this new development, totaling 450,000 square feet. And, they're moving from a similar space, from a space that's about the same size downtown. So interesting, as T. Rowe Price, they're kind of joining, other financial institutions like Morgan Stanley and Legg Mason Legg Mason is technically in Harbor East, which is right next door. So really, they're moving on to over to that area where you'll have Legg Mason in Harbor East. You'll have Morgan Stanley in Harbor Point. You'll have T. Rowe Price, but certainly T. Rowe will get more of a campus type atmosphere here, where they'll likely be able to get their own outdoor spaces. They'll be adjacent to a new park that's getting built there. There's other little pocket parks and plazas in that area. So it'll be a change of pace for them. It'll be interesting to see what happens with their existing building at 100 East Pratt Street. They took up about half of that, maybe a little bit more than that. So we'll see how that building reinvents itself, but that's still 4 years away. So you'll see a couple more cranes in the sky coming out of Fells Point. And but the good thing is T. Rowe Price is committed to staying in the city. The stock market's doing very well these days, so obviously that benefits our financial institutions, which have always been a good part of the Baltimore economy. So T. Rowe Price is moving, but they're not going far. Here's another really exciting proposal for downtown. There's this block that was deemed the super block, which is bounded by Fayette Street, Howard Street, Park Avenue, and Lexington Street, on what they would call the west side of downtown. These properties have been vacant for a couple decades. Just such a drag on the surrounding properties to have just an entire block of vacant properties. In the middle of downtown, there was a project called the Super Block that was supposed to happen in the mid-2000s, going into the early 2010s. That fell apart, never happened. So these properties have just been sitting there vacant. Now there's a new proposal by a group of local and out-of-town investors that want to bring in workforce housing, market rate rental housing, retail, office, co-working spaces, artists, live work spaces, an entertainment venue and hotel. So really hopeful that this project moves forward. They have now purchased those properties, and hopefully that moves full steam, because that could really help reinvent that west side of downtown, which is already seeing a new Lexington Markets under construction. Obviously, we've seen some theaters redone there, like Everyman and Hippodrome, some apartment projects going there. So that really is going to be a huge catalyst for the west side of downtown. When you have a big project going on, that leads to momentum on the surrounding blocks. So we'll follow that closely, and hopefully that moves forward quickly. And then staying with downtown, a group of investors, Kemp Burns, Brad Burns, and Dave Gupta, have bought 2 buildings on Redwood Street, 233 East Redwood Street and 225 East Redwood Street. And they're going to keep these buildings as office buildings, do some upgrades there, but really make a push to get new retail on the bottom floor of these buildings, and really try to create what they're calling as a new Main Street for downtown. So that block of Redwood is definitely a lot more intimate than a lot of your downtown blocks, as it's a little thinner. It has the Chesapeake Shakespeare Theater there. It had a restaurant called Chez Hugo at one point. There's a cool diner in one of their buildings called Werner's. So it'd really be cool if they can add some restaurants here and get like a nice, cool, intimate type Main Street for downtown. That could really go a long way. They're excited about all these new apartment buildings they've built downtown. So that'll be a fun project to watch as downtown continues to reinvent itself, all while having, competition from places like Harbor Point and Harbor East. But, downtown's gone from really a place just to work to now it's really becoming more of a place to live, work, and play. So exciting to see the transformation there.
Awesome, Kev. So anything else besides, not business news necessarily or real estate, but just Any personal stories about some folks around town? Anything going on in that area?
Yeah, so in right near M&T Bank Stadium, kind of partially in Pigtown, West Street there is now Mo Gabba Way. Mo Gabba passed away recently at the age of 14 after many bouts with cancer. He had been blind since an early age due to the cancer. Just a beloved figure around Baltimore Orioles and Ravens super fan, staple calling into sports talk like 105.7 The Fan. Really got to start on the Scott and Jeremy show on 105.7 The Fan. So just a beloved figure around town. You've probably seen the hashtag Mo Strong bumper stickers, and maybe you've seen that around social media. So he was just a huge light for the city of Baltimore. The NFL Network, ESPN did some really cool stories on Mo recently. He hosted his own radio show right before he passed away. He's a recent middle school graduate. So they have dedicated West Street there and right near the stadium as Mo Gabba Way. They have some new signs on the poles that have a Ravens logo and an Orioles logo, and certainly Mo's name in there. So a great a great honor for somebody that was beloved by so many. So Mo Gabba Way. Next time you're on West Street near the stadium, this is on the Pigtown side. Check out the new signs. Next time you can hopefully go to a game. You can walk down Mo Gabba Way to get there. So a very cool way to honor Mo. So Tim Morricone, who was murdered in Federal Hill back in 2018, his family has done a great job fundraising for the Tim Morricone Scholarship Fund, which goes to Fishburne Military School in Virginia, which is the high school he went to. So they have, unfortunately, they had a crab feast they had to cancel, which was a really successful event for them last year. So they've got some really cool new shirts that they're using to raise money for this scholarship fund. So it says Baltimore, but the letters Tim are in bold, and they have the kind of the Maryland flag in the background of the letters. So really cool shirts that are really Baltimore themed and really honor Tim and raise money for this great scholarship fund his family has. Tim was a resident of Federal Hill. His father also lives in the neighborhood, and so really great family and really great cause. So definitely check out those shirts. They are, whether knew Tim or not, it's a really cool shirt. And then also a lot of new murals around the neighborhood. So obviously taking a walk is one of the more COVID-friendly things you can do these days. So there's some cool murals and on Key Highway in Federal Hill. There's a new mural near Riverside Park. There's new murals in the Mount Clair neighborhood. There's new murals in Pigtown. So really a lot of new murals in Poppleton. So really just a lot of cool artwork around the neighborhood you can check out with we are Baltimore, so everything's very Baltimore themed. So definitely check out our Instagram page and our website to learn more about that. But definitely some cool artwork you can check out around the neighborhood.
Here we are on December 4th. Hard to believe it's already December when 2020 has been 10 years long. And, there's already obviously a lot going on this weekend. We're about to, broadcast this show to the world here in a couple hours. So, but what's going on around Baltimore this weekend?
Yeah, so Pigtown Main Street has their virtual talent show tonight, which is very cool. That'll be tonight at 8 p.m. Make sure to go to the Pigtown Main Street Facebook page to log on to that live. So they got some really cool talented acts that you can watch, and an exciting event there for Pigtown Main Street. The Federal Hill Business Association has their Moonlight Madness tonight from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. This is a COVID-friendly version of their event that they've done for many years, and they're also promoting their shopping stroll tomorrow from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. So please get out there and support our local small businesses. It's certainly the holiday season. Do your best to shop small, shop local when it comes to those Christmas and holiday gifts. So definitely check out those events this weekend.
Cool. That sounds fun. Who knew Pigtown's got talent?
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be exciting to watch that. We know they've produced a couple Major League Baseball players with Steve Clevenger and Babe Ruth. So very exciting to see some of the other talents they've had in Pigtown.
Speaking of got talent, so I want to give a little special plug here if I can for those of you around the neighborhood. You probably know, but maybe you're not thinking about it right now during these COVID times, but awesome little place down on Charles Street called Illusions Magic Bar. You may have seen Spencer and his wife, Caroline. You may have seen them, walking around town. You may have seen them at a show. Maybe you've been there, a couple years ago or something. It's I think it was voted at one point like best date place in Baltimore.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I know it's an absolutely fantastic show.
Yeah, so they usually would do live shows every Friday and Saturday night. And, fantastic. We did that a few years ago ourselves and, had an awesome time. Great bar in there. Then you go back to the show. But unfortunately, those of you that might know Spencer, he's been on America's Got Talent. He's been on the show called Masters of Illusions and countless other TV shows that are out there. And, he's been all over the world. He's a fantastic magician and illusionist, if you will. And his shows are amazing. And they've actually switched over now to, they offer virtual magic shows. So look, they have kid shows as well as adult shows. So he's, putting those on, various times during the week. And you can go to illusionsmagicbar.com and check it out. So you can buy tickets for, at various nights, whether it's for family and friends or whether it's, for kids and their parents. Really, it's really cool. I can tell you, our kids have seen some of his tricks and it's absolutely amazing. And they actually do corporate shows as well. If you guys are looking for something different, do like a virtual, those of you on Zoom, in your corporate calls, looking for something fun to do, something unique and different, for your business, think about Illusions. Good place there. So anyway, just want to give a plug for them because, that's one of those places you probably don't think about during COVID. So many places have the outdoor dining and, they can do grab and go food, but how do you get magic on the go, right?
And certainly to give another plug to Baltimore Small Business Stories, that great new website. Spencer and his wife Caroline have been featured as one of the photo essays on there. You can read a really cool story about how he grew up in the clown and entertainment industry. So very great story about how they started that business, how they're doing, and certainly make sure to support them any way you can right now. We'll be back to normal soon, I hope, but certainly do your best to help these businesses as much as you can currently.
Awesome. So Kev, as we kind of round out the show here, you had anything yummy to eat around town? Anything new, different?
Yeah, absolutely. I got to have a nice dinner at SoBo Cafe, which was just delicious. We had the mussels, which were fantastic. I got the Korean short rib dish, which was so good. So just a great meal out at SoBo Cafe. Checked out Taqueria El Rodeo, which I was talking about earlier. I got some really good tacos, delicious burrito, got a Jarritos, which is they call that the official soda of tacos. So really good new spot, great Mexican food. So excited about that. There's always so much good food around South Baltimore. And,
absolutely. I hear that. Well, folks, it's time to call it a close here on This Week in South Baltimore. But look, Kevin and I have had an awesome time doing this podcast since, when did we start this? Back in June, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so this may be the last one for the year, but hopefully not. Hopefully find a time to do another one for everybody. But if not, we want to wish everyone a happy holidays and stay safe out there, folks. This is a kind of a dark time with COVID upticks and all that stuff going on. We all know about that. Just stay safe, healthy out there. And, if we don't catch you sooner, we will definitely catch you on the flip side in 2021, which is going to be an awesome year.
It's our year. It's everybody's year. It's your year. It's my year. It's going to be an amazing year. Happy holidays, everybody.
This Week in South Baltimore. Brought to you by SouthBaltimore.com.